Once upon a time, two retired teachers decided to convert their garage into a pottery studio. Along with their daughter and son, they built a business around the idea that the world could use a little more art and a lot more artists. We're the Kaya family. Welcome to Wocky Pots. Hi everybody, how you doing? How you been? How are things? Shane and Diana here for our coffee time number 60 at Wocky Pots Studio. Lots of cool stuff to talk about this week. Diana, what are we going to talk about?
Alrighty, well we're going to go over last week, which shouldn't take too awfully long. It was a relatively calm week.
Pretty calm. No major catastrophes.
Yes, no, and we took a bit of a break because we didn't spend as much time in the studio as we normally do. As many of you will remember, we were talking about the fact that Snowmageddon was coming.
Right, yeah. So they were calling for a foot of snow. We didn't get a foot of snow. We got over 6 inches of snow.
We
got
sure
a lot
did.
of snow.
But I was really amazed by how quickly it went away.
Right. It was warm a couple days after, and it's now mostly gone.
Yeah, I mean, we have some spots in the shade and stuff with some, but we were able to take the dogs for a walk today.
Right, and our walk was cut a little bit short because a ways down the road, evidently somebody has run over a skunk with the car,
gosh. And it was
stinky. So we had to cut our walk a little bit short.
Yes, and poor Juno, it scared her.
We have 3 dogs, and of course the poodle, it didn't faze her one bit. She didn't care one way or the other. Luna, our big black shaggy dog, really was intrigued by the smell and wanted to investigate. But our other dog, Juno, was terrified of the smell. She
Turn around and let's head for home.
She did not want to investigate that smell.
Yes, but it was nice to be able to get outside for a while.
Good walk.
So, and you know, one of the other things that happened last week, I got my hair cut.
Yay!
Finally!
Diana got a haircut.
Yes, I'm not overcome by my hair anymore.
Yep.
I know Sandy always got the biggest kick out of when I would say, I've got to get my hair cut. It's driving me nuts.
Right, so you got a haircut.
I did.
And it was a pretty good day in the studio, or a pretty good week in the studio also. We did manage to get a couple
We did,
things
even though
made.
we weren't out here every day like we normally are. We did make quite a few things. And you made some really extra special things this week.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it or not. There's kind of a large bowl over my shoulder. I just made that a couple hours ago, and it is not as round as it will be after I trim it. I have to make my bases a little wider than I like, so it'll support the walls while the clay is wet. But then after it dries a little bit, I'll trim it and it'll be nice and round on the bottom and everything. So I did that today, but I made a bunch of stuff this week too. You had mentioned to me that I should try making an altered bowl.
Yes.
So this heart bowl that I made on the wheel, and I was really amazed at how easy it was to trim it. It still fit flat on top of the Giffen grip, and I was able to trim it up. And this is going to be a nice little bowl when it's finished.
It's really cute.
Yeah, I
like that.
can't wait to see that all finished. And then I also made the utensil crock here. This is just a cylinder, and it's meant to hold spatula, turner, that kind of stuff, a whisk or whatever, by the stove while you're cooking. And then I made 2 yarn bowls, and these turned out really quite nice. I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. You'll see that the hook inside is a little more severe on this one. It's a little more convoluted and a little more round than it is on the one in front. And I don't know which I prefer, or if people who will be using this will prefer one over the other. But they were both kind of a joy to make. And I'm going to include a couple of photos to show you this. But when I cut these swirls out, I made sure to leave a couple of pieces of clay still attached while I cut the hook. And that helps keep it from snapping off. If you remember, we've made yarn bowls in the past, and the last one I made, I got a little irritated with myself because I snapped off that swirly hook because the clay was just a little bit too dry. Now, this clay was not too dry to work with, but there's that technique that I used to hold the swirl in place while I carved away the rest of the clay. And I'll make sure you guys see the process for that, so you understand.
I think that's a great trick too.
Yeah,
because it does need to be supported. And I know when I went over it and I took a finishing sponge when you were finished, because one of the key things about a yarn bowl is making sure that there's no rough places at all. And so even at this stage, we want it to be as smooth as we
Right.
can.
We don't want to have to depend on sandpaper after
Right.
bisque to get it smooth.
Better to get it smooth to begin with.
Right.
Yes.
So these are going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then I also made 2 other pieces too. And this is actually my highlight. So
And
this is
they
the highlight
are
of the week.
So wonderful.
I made this vase and this bowl. And these 2 pieces represent the last of that bag of black clay that I had. Now, they don't look black now. Right now, they just look dark brown. In fact, they don't look that much darker than the Chantilly, but
Just a little.
But just a little. But when they're fired, the clay parts of these will be almost coal black. It'll be really, really dark brown, almost coal black. And then I painted white underglaze on the inside. And then I did a little bit of tooling, and I'll show closer pictures of these also. A little bit of tooling into the underglaze to get a little bit of a texture going around the rim. Now, when it comes time to actually glaze these after they've been bisque fired, assuming they make it through the bisque fire, I'll have to think about whether I want to use just a clear glaze on the outside and nothing on the outside, or clear on both, or maybe even I want there to be a color over top of the white underglaze. But at any rate, these will be bisque fired first, and then I'll have them in my hand and actually look at them and figure out what we want to do with glazing.
I love them. I love them the way they are. But of course, I know they're going to look so different. So
They are,
There's
and
so many possibilities.
And remember, we do have problems with that black clay.
Right.
And some of our glazes doesn't.
Yes.
They don't like how much this clay shrinks, so it makes things a little
Right.
bit of a challenge. And they might turn out fantastic. They might turn out terrible. But no matter what, the highlight of the week is that this is the last of it, and I won't have to think about them anymore.
Yep, that's it. No more black clay.
Yep. and I think, if the technique works well, I'll just do the same technique using our regular Chantilly brown clay, and that will look beautiful also. Remember, this stuff fires a nice dark brown also. It won't be black like these, but it'll be nice dark brown.
Right. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And
So you made some stuff too. Look at your stuff.
I was very, very excited this week. I for the first time in a super, super long time, I tried some sgraffito, I don't know, probably a year ago. But I didn't really have a good tool for it. And so I've since gotten a sgraffito tool, and I had just not had the time to do it. So I had a little bit of clay left over one day that was under plastic, and it felt like, ooh, it's a little bit too dry. So, but I was like, I think I can make just a small little dish. And so I made a little small dish, and I crimped the edges, and I was like, this, I'm going to go ahead and try it on.
Right,
because
'cause
I
why
figured,
not?
why not? It's worth trying it. So I used Speedball Blue underglaze. I think it's royal blue. And then put 3 coats of that on. I had to let it dry. It takes forever to wait for these coats to dry, especially when it is on a piece of greenware.
Right. The
Because
clay itself has
it's
moisture.
not soaking it in. So I did it in the morning, and then that afternoon after lunch, I came back out and I sat down and I carved this little design, and I just started playing with it. I often doodle leaves, so I started by doodling a leaf, and then I added vertical lines, and then I was like, oh, let me put some other horizontal lines, and then I was like, let me put a little accent on the leaf, and so anyway, but that's what turned out.
And I can't wait to see it when it's glazed. That blue will turn it really dark,
Yeah.
deep blue, almost a cobalt, and it's going to be very pretty.
Yeah, and we'll put a clear on it. And then so all the lines, of course, because I'm using the Kentucky Mudworks Iceman, they'll be white in comparison. And so I can't wait to see it when it's done. And I hope it makes it. But if it doesn't, it was still a learning experience. But I seem to be on a kick with doing surface decoration this week.
You've got lots of surface decorations.
Lots of surface. So I took some time, and I made several of our lunch style plates this week. 2 of them have the sea stars on it, and then I have one with strawberries and a checkerboard. But this one, I'd had this one underglazed decal for some time with the citrus fruits on it, and I had never used it. And I was like, you know what? This is the week. So I put that on, and then I decided, okay, I want to do something to the other end to make it more me. So I have little orange polka dots and little green swirly lines. And right now I know it does not match at all. But my hope is that the green will go well with the green that's over here, and the orange will be somewhere between this one and this one. I feel like it should work, and then I'll clear glaze that after it's bisqued.
Well, fantastic.
So we'll see. I'll share it with you guys afterwards and see how it turns out, but just trying to give things a little bit different look. But I was so proud of myself because as I've been using the Iceman, you know, I pull my chunk off and I roll it out. And truthfully, guys, I haven't been using the slab roller at all since I got the Iceman. The Iceman is so soft. I just use my rolling pin, and I can roll it out as fast as I can use the slab roller.
With a lot less finagling and
so I've just
fiddling.
been rolling it. Well, sometimes when the day's done, I have all these little bits left, and I don't want to leave them until they get too hard or just leave them sitting in a bag. So I've made it a point that every day I come out, I have to use up the bag of clay that was left before. So like I'll spritz it with water and get, you know, tie it up good and get the air out. So all of these guys were used from one bag. So
Scraps. Those are scraps.
Yes. So I have 5 new mushrooms and 3 little gnomey dudes because I realized when we start the market season this year, we're out of gnomes.
Yeah, we could always use more
We
gnomes.
can always use gnomes.
And you do hollow the bottom of those out too to
Yes.
make them a little less likely to break when you come.
Oh yeah, I did that one. I think there might be one here that is.
Oh, you might have gotten lazy on one? Oh my goodness.
I might have. It was a lazy week for me. I was embracing the art of doing nothing.
Well, we have to do that
Yes.
sometimes.
But you guys know how much of a kick I've been on making these butter dishes. I made another butter dish this week, and this one has mushrooms. You know, so let's see. I've got the flower one. I've got the bumblebee one. And so now there is a mushroom one.
Eventually, she'll work her way up to
Yes.
being able to make one that's completely plain without any kind of decoration. Eventually, she'll get
I know
there.
he keeps telling me that, but I keep coming up with new ideas. Like, I want to do a strawberry one. I want to do a crab one. I've got all these ideas for ones that I want to do. You know, it's like, oh, what else could I do? What other kind of a theme can I put on? You know, and like, I know if Candy is watching this, she's going to be sitting there thinking, Diana, chickens. You
gotta
have to
make
put
chicken one,
chickens. Yes. So, you know, and it's just fun. And so I'm trying to make one butter dish per week.
Well, I think you're doing great
Maybe
with it.
I'll do one butter dish that is carved and sculpted on, and then I'll do a plain one. How's that?
Okay.
I could do that. So 2 instead of 1 per week.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's awesome. You're doing a great job
They're
with them.
so fun to do. I just love it. And I think
You should totally make them however you want to make them.
I know, but you're right though about not everybody is going to want them embellished like that. Some people will just want them plain and glazed, and even the glazing itself can be another whole rabbit hole to go down. There's so many combinations out there, and you know, you can sometimes just get stumped as to, oh, what do I do next?
Many choices.
Yes.
Well, we do
So-
have some new glazes to try out, but you didn't mention your challenge. What was, because I did my highlight was working with the black clay and finishing it up. What was your challenge?
Oh yeah, my challenge, and I should have had one over here. But you know the little shot glasses, guys, that I showed last week? I made another one this week with a bit of my clay that I had left over at the end of the day. And I had the beehive pattern on it. No, I didn't. I had this wave pattern on it. And we came in, was it this morning?
I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday. We came in yesterday morning and you said, oh, honey. And the cup was broke right in half.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, and it wasn't on a seam. It wasn't where you know, when
It was
Diana
the
does her hand building,
opposite.
she makes it out of a single sheet of clay that she joins together to form a cylinder. The break wasn't in the seam. It was exactly the opposite sides of the seam.
Well, one good thing. We know I'm good at the seams.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't burst on the seam.
Your seam was flawless for sure.
Yes.
So how does that translate into a challenge? What's the challenge?
Well, the challenge is it dried way too fast. And that's my fault. I really didn't cover it well enough with the plastic. I just loosely covered it. It was small. I figured, hey, it'll be fine. It'll dry out well. But evidently that wasn't the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been babying the butter dish tops because that one had the crack.
First one you
the
made.
first
Mm-hmm.
one I made had the little crack at the top. It didn't go all the way through, but it was still a crack. And that, you had explained, came from the uneven drying. So I just really didn't think that little cup was going to have that problem, but it did. So that's really been a challenge is for me especially, not just leaving the pieces out. I have a tendency, I get very excited and I just put them up on the shelf and I'm like, oh, okay.
But we have to tuck them in. If we don't tuck them in, there's danger.
Yes.
Danger.
So I have to remember to cover them in plastic. And that first night especially, I have to not just throw the piece of plastic over them.
You have to make sure it's around the
it's
sides.
around them, yes. And it was sitting out with nothing over top of it at all. I hadn't even loosely covered that.
Well, but things like that happen, and for being a small, that's a good thing for it to happen to, because it
wasn't a lot of work in that one, and it, so it's okay, but it is a lesson because it broke my heart, the one when it was on the butter dish. That, I'm like, it's just a little small cup. But the thing is, if I get into that habit of just throwing it up on the shelf and, it'll be fine, I'll do it later, and then I forget.
We have to manage the moisture levels pretty carefully.
Yes, because that is a big challenge here in the studio. Our humidity is super, super low.
Yeah, it's very low, especially if we are firing the kiln.
Yeah.
If we're going to fire the kiln, we pretty much have to completely cover top and bottom anything that's not bone dry. If it is not already bone dry, we have to cover it because it'll dry out so fast when we fire the kiln.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was my challenge, a broken little cup. But weird that it just on the opposite side is where it decided to go.
Well, but that's not a bad challenge,
So,
and lesson learned and all that jazz.
Yeah. So the other challenge too we had this week was the fact that we filmed Coffee Time last Sunday. Yep, we filmed it early last Sunday too, and folks didn't get to see it until Monday.
It took forever to upload. We don't have high-speed internet, and that is starting to become a challenge. Because we are relying on 5G home internet. It's normally pretty speedy, certainly fast enough for everything else we need to do, except for uploading YouTube videos. It sometimes takes forever to upload a video. So that's a challenge.
We try to get them up on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And there isn't really much we can do about that speed other than we know eventually we will have fiber optic coming through. And when we do, that will significantly decrease the amount of time it takes to upload a video.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Eventually we'll get there.
Yes.
It's not. They're laying the wires for it right now, but nobody's hooked up yet.
Yeah. So, and of course, this coming week, our intention is to work 5 solid days.
I'll bet I can make 1,000 cups.
When we really put our minds to it, we can really turn out some pottery. Mm-hmm. But boy, I have been lazy.
I'm looking forward to being able to sit down and actually make some more stuff.
Hibernation mode or something.
Well, it is all right. We are steadily making things, and that's the best we can do.
Yeah.
I will be making more, large-ish things. Maybe a couple more yarn bowls.
Your things are just getting bigger all the time. Mine are getting smaller.
Well, one challenge for me this coming week, I'm hoping to try it. I want to throw off the hump. I want to make a whole bunch of small little dishes. I was eating a burrito earlier today in the house, and I had to kind of fish through the cupboards to find a small bowl to put the sauce for it, because I could dip my burrito in taco sauce when I'm eating it. And finding a small bowl it was like harder than it should have been in the house. We should be making a lot of these smaller sauce bowls.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. And it's always nice to keep, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but to keep.
Improving, maybe?
Thank
to
you.
To keep improving, learning new techniques and practicing them. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes I know what I want to say, but then
words don't come out.
The words aren't there anymore. But anyway, but the thought is.
Right. That's okay.
So, but anyway, the other thing that we need to do this week is we need to start inventorying. Not necessarily the glazes and the clay this time, but to actually count how many mugs do we have, how many plates do we have, how many things have we gotten together so far, because we have the market beginning in just 11 weeks.
Right. We want to be ready for a complete setup at the beginning, and then we want to be able to maintain that. We also have another show coming up, the Revenge of the Stitch for the SCA.
Yes, and that's, that was one of the things when we shared our goals this year. We said we wanted to really just stick with the Chincoteague Island Farmers and Artisans Market, and then if the SCA invited us, we would do them. But we weren't going to try to do a lot of other places just because it can be a bit much.
It's a lot to keep up with, and we barely kept up with it last year. Yeah. If we could get ahead of it a little bit this year so that we're not unloading a kiln through necessity every single week, that would be great.
But it looks like we're going to have just a little bit more help in the studio, because Carolyn, our daughter, says that this summer when she's on break from college, she's going to work 1 day a week in our studio each week.
And the goal is for her to make things herself and sell the things that she makes herself.
Yes. But in the process, she'll still be helping.
Right, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And so she's going to be doing that. And then Christopher has shown an interest in doing some 3D printing for us to use as cutters or texture rollers.
We've talked about it before. And we're actually considering getting a new 3D printer that is a little more dependable, a little more reliable, and
ours is
making our
old
own tools.
And tired, kind of like us.
Well, unreliable, right? Undependable, breaks down.
Just a little bit tired from time to time.
Sometimes it makes sparks and smoke flies out the back, right? Sometimes. Anyway, we are considering a 3D printer, and Christopher will be helping to man that machine to get things printed out for us.
I think he'll like that a lot better. I did get him, you got him to come out one day this week to wash bats here in the studio. And then I managed to get him to come out earlier this morning and do some glazing for me. So I'll show a picture of the pieces that he glazed this morning. But actually building with clay, that's not his cup of tea, but I'm hoping the 3D printer will be that, little lead into helping in the studio that we need for him. I remember, we have our next homeschool art class starting, not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday.
Right, so a week and just a couple days from right now,
Yes, because I sent the notice out to the folks who were with us for the clay class, and it's already the morning class is full, and the afternoon class has maybe room for 5 more people in it.
Right, so they fill up pretty fast. And these are not our pottery classes.
Right.
These are homeschool art classes where we talk about the elements and principles of art and get the kids to actually make something here in the studio with us. And we always have fun with those. It's always a good time.
Yeah. So, but that's probably it for this coming week. I know when we get off of here, we're going to be heading out to Lowe's to get our daughter what is it?
A utility wagon.
Yes.
She needs something to carry bales of hay out to her horses.
Horses, yes, the new horse came home. I'll show you a picture, guys. Yes, her new horse has come home, and she sent me the cutest picture. So Magic has been joined now by Luna, who happens to be her cousin, and even more ironic, Magic's birthday is March 25th, and Luna's birthday is March 23rd. So it's so funny that these two horses are related and their birthdays are that close. And the picture she sent me is so adorable. It looks like they're best friends already.
Yep. So she needs something to carry hay and feed buckets and stuff. So we're gonna get her a utility wagon for that.
Because right now she's doing it by hand or using a little kitty wagon. So we figure we could do that.
Yep.
So so I think that's it though.
Yep. All right. Yes. And nothing else to talk about?
I don't think so. Hopefully next week we'll have lots and lots and lots of new things.
Yeah. Well, we did pretty good this week.
We did.
So next week will be hopefully some even cooler stuff.
Yes.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yes. Maybe we'll be peeping out between the pieces.
Maybe. Well, let's wrap it up and go finish this day out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you have not yet hit that like and subscribe button, please do that. It does help us out. For now, though, toodaloo, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Take care. See you later. Have a fantastic day no matter where you're at. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.